This is Minda Wilson with Urgent Care, and I am really pleased to welcome TK Huynh, a pharmacist who has done some very interesting work related to creating drugs for people to manage pain, and has a very interesting story about what brought him to the place where he decided to develop these things. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and I will be as informative as possible.
Well, so you were a little kid when you came to the United States, right?
Yes, actually, my family lived in a little fishing village in South Vietnam, and one night my dad escaped in his fishing boat, and this was when I was 6 years old. We ended up in Hong Kong. We were traveling up north to South China Sea for 2 weeks. We end up in Hong Kong, got picked up by a British shipping cargo, and we end up staying in Hong Kong for 2 years, and then we got sponsored by a church in the United States to come to America.
Wow. And so where did you end up?
We end up in Fresno because my dad had communication with a friend who lives in Fresno, and there was migrant job here in Fresno, and that's kind of where we end up, and we came to work as migrant worker in Fresno, California.
So it's a long way from being a migrant worker to ending up a pharmacist. So it's really an amazing story. So what inspired you to become a pharmacist?
After college, I was dating my wife, and she went to pharmacy school. So I was hanging out with all the pharmacy students, and I was working at New England Medical Center, thinking that I was going to medical school, and I was discouraged to go to medical school by all the doctors because they said that it's just not the same when you're practicing under insurance versus how you would like to practice medicine. And I can see that they were working early in the morning and their day doesn't end till really late at night, and I can see the stress in their face. And so I took their advice and I went to pharmacy school instead.
But you always knew you wanted to help people.
I always knew that, and that really started when I was about 11 years old, because what happened was I lived in a housing project, Section 8 housing by the fairground in Fresno, California, and a vet one night who was on a wheelchair fell off his wheelchair and couldn't get back up on the wheelchair, so I snuck out of the house when I wasn't supposed to. I came out to help him, pulled him up into his wheelchair and pushed him home, and I came back, and my older brother snitched on my dad that I left the house, and so I got a spanking that night. And at that time, what we do in the house is we had to kneel down and my dad would spank us. And I promised myself during that moment that I wouldn't change myself. I would be always helping people at any opportunity that I have. And so I have always lived that way.
Wow. So the self-determination to be of service has always been an important part of your life, even once you became a pharmacist.
Correct. And because of my background living and growing up surrounded by minority, I have a very good job and I have a very good pay and I live in a very good neighborhood. But when I opened up my own independent pharmacy, I saw the discrimination against people minority, against people low incomes, against people of color, and I didn't want to treat people that way in my pharmacy. So I would leave the counter of my pharmacy at the front door and welcome everybody from every socioeconomic background and help them as much as possible by knowing who they are and their name and their family, not because they're a number inside the pharmacy.
So it seemed like the pharmaceutical industry wasn't really serving the people that you felt really needed the help.
Correct. What I observed, we were taught was that, you know, every disease, every sickness, every symptom, there's a pill for it. And before you know it, we put a patient in this cycles of pills where they start with one and then they end up with 2, 3, 4, 5 down the row. And we're just chasing that pattern. And one of the problems was pain and opiates. And we caught ourselves dispensing way too much, and not as just a single pharmacy, but all the pharmacy in the nation. And we're so dependent on these pills that numb our mind and our body down that doesn't help with the true chronic part of the pain. A lot of time, there's the emotional component of pain that doesn't get addressed with the doctors inside their office because of time. They're limited by the amount of time that they can see the patient because it's a business and they have to keep the time running to keep up with paying for the rest of the office and operation. And then the other thing is prescription medication deal with the physiologic and pharmacologic part of the pain. It looks at how it can numb the area of the pain or block the nerve or block the opiate receptors. But none of these modalities really address what is going on in the stress pattern, the emotional pattern, what we're carrying. So, for example, if for a lot of men who have chronic back pain, and a lot of that is not due to physical injury or the anatomy of the body, it could be the emotional component that we feel that we can't support our wife, we can't support our job due to some financial issues, or there's some situation that made us very angry, and the way the mind represents the pain is in the back versus trying to work out the problem in the conscious mind, and we don't have a solution or a conscious way of dealing with it, then the body deal with that problem by showing up as pain in the back.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So do you feel like it's a sort of a mind plus the body?
Yes,
right?
Yes, correct. It's how the mind deal with subconscious issues that doesn't have a solution, and it just shows up as pain in the body, or the other way is that it shows up as addiction also. And that's why we have such a big addiction issue in the United States, because there's a lot of psychological problem that is undealt with. And the way that the conscious mind deal with it is finding a habit, alcohol, prescription drugs, or a way to keep us busy in the conscious mind instead of really dealing with the psychological issue.
So if it's mostly psychological, this problem, then and that's the cause of addiction, do you feel like but people still have some kind of pain that brought them looking for treatment in the first place. So where's the line between those things?
I believe that all pain should have some form of psychological evaluation. In acute pain, we can give a patient, let's say, a certain amount of pain medication to deal with it acutely. And within, after, if it still continue to go on after 30 days, the body should already heal the physical part of the pain. And anything beyond that is most likely psychological. And we should have a system where we get some kind of psychological evaluation, some kind of deep detail questionnaire where we're asking them, where is the problem really coming from? Is it childhood abuse? Is it emotional stress from a job? Is it emotional stress from within the family? So they all have to be evaluated to really find what is that source of that emotional blockage that is causing that pain.
Interesting. So if we find and treat the psychological problem, then we won't need medicine. Is that what you're saying? There won't be a need for pain medicine.
Absolutely. Or you can use way less pain pills than what you have, because we have studies that show meditation work to reduce pain, prayer, yoga, tai chi, psychological work, tapping. So all these things, they don't involve a drug, but they help with pain. And we just need to find a better way how to incorporate and use them properly.
Right. So there's a whole spectrum. Some people have, some people going through chemotherapy, experiencing bone cancer. Those people have genuine chronic pain that needs to be addressed. But even then, there's a psychological component that could maybe reduce the amount of pain medicine they take, which would help them cognitively if they address the psychological issues. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So one of the ways that we approach pain with our company is that if we are in a high pain intensity state, then that means that there is a lot of emotional state that's going on, like emotional stress. If we have cancer, we have a lot of anxiety. We don't know what's going on. We're shocked by the diagnosis. We don't know what's going to hold in our future. So all that stress can intensify the intensity of the pain dramatically. And if we can somehow go in and help people reduce their worry, reduce their stress, help them find a state of unconditional love and peace in their heart and security, knowing that they're going to move forward better than where they are today, then I can guarantee you that 51% of their pain would dramatically drop without any medication.
How do we get people access to this kind of psychological support for pain? I mean, how do you provide that?
So we know that HeartMath has this heart rate variability breathing program that helps people get into heart-mind coherence, and they're showing to dramatically reduces chronic pain. We know that studies for meditation, even prayers and yogas and stuff like that, can relaxes people so much that they can reduce a lot of their chronic pain. And then there's technology and device such as red light PMF technologies that can help modulate specific pulses into the body and can help reduce and reprogram the body to reduce its pain. And so when we started down this pathway of trying to look for a better way to help people, we look at the emotional component, and then we look at what is the technology that is available for us to be able to create this kind of result for people. And so the way we do our cream is we take technology and then we use the principle of homeopathy. So homeopathy is basically dilution of information into water or into whatever tablets or capsule of the modality, and you have that information and your body starts to correct itself. And so what we do is we take that principle, but we reverse the information. Instead of having weak information, we amplify the information. And what kind of information then do we put into our cream? So we put in information that has to do with heart coherence. how the heart can get into a state of coherence versus frustration versus stress, and give the body the ability to calm down. And then we put in earth resonance to help the body find grounding, because grounding has a lot to do with how we are get grounded to the earth. And then the resonance for unconditional love and peace. And when we can switch people from a state of high emotional stress to a state of unconditional love and peace in their heart and their mind when they're aligned, then their mind, their conscious mind, will interpret the pain differently. And so we went and looked at these different modalities, and we took us a few years to figure out how to do it correctly. And so we have a product that really helps people decrease their stress and decrease their worry, so that way they're more grounded, and then their pain automatically goes down in terms of the intensity.
Wow. So if people want access to this cream, or they want to learn more about you, or working on the psychological aspects that you were talking about in these studies, what's the best way for them to find out about this information?
We have a website, and it's MindBodyMatrix.com. So it's MindBodyMatrix.com. And if we have any veteran out there who's listening and who wants help with their pain, we do have a buy one, give one program to our veteran. And our website on the top right-hand corner is the veteran link. All you have to do is just register, and then we verify you, and then we send you a free pain cream.
That's amazing. I think that what you're doing is wonderful. I really think the ability to help yourself by using this cream and reducing dependence on pain medication like opioids and other pain medications that people are taking is fantastic. And also to improve the mind in order to cope with pain is also a really great thing that you're doing, because, coping skills are probably equally as important as the combating of the pain itself. I appreciate you coming on our show. People can reach out to you through your website, get the cream, learn more about coping and other techniques that they can use to manage pain. This is Minda Wilson with Urgent Care.